Becoming a new parent is one of life's most profound transitions. It's a moment filled with immense love, anticipation, and a touch of the unknown. It is a beautiful mix of overwhelming joy and, understandably, a fair amount of worry. It's completely normal to feel both simultaneously. You marvel at your baby, completely captivated by their tiny features and the miracle of their existence. But almost immediately, questions begin to creep in, filling your mind with uncertainty. Am I doing this right? Am I providing everything my baby needs? Why are they crying again? Is it hunger, discomfort, or something else entirely? The constant guessing game can be exhausting. Every little change, every new sound or expression can send you spiraling, frantically searching for answers online or in parenting books. This constant questioning can lead to doubting yourself and your abilities as a parent. Feeding is often the biggest source of anxiety for new parents, regardless of whether you choose to breastfeed or bottle feed. Especially when your baby wants to nurse constantly, seemingly without end. This is known as cluster feeding. You might wonder if you're enough to satisfy your baby's needs, if you're producing enough milk, or if your baby is getting enough nutrients. These doubts can be overwhelming, leading you to feel like you're failing your child. Well-meaning advice from family and friends, while often helpful, can sometimes add to the doubt and confusion. It's important to remember that most worries are normal parts of a baby's development and that you're not alone in experiencing them. Understanding your baby's behavior, learning their cues, and recognizing their needs is the first step to building confidence in your parenting abilities. Cluster feeding, though incredibly exhausting and demanding, is a common and healthy part of this journey, a natural way for your baby to stimulate milk production and ensure they're getting enough. Let's explore what it really means to understand cluster feeding and other common newborn behaviors, so you can replace worry and self-doubt with knowledge, empowerment, and a deeper connection with your baby. Remember, you're doing better than you think you are. Trust your instincts. Let's uncover the facts together and navigate this incredible journey with confidence and joy. Cluster feeding essentially describes a period when your baby wants to feed very frequently, with many short feeds occurring close together. It might seem like they're constantly hungry, going from breast to sleep and back again in short cycles. This often happens in the evening hours as the day winds down and everyone is getting ready for the night. Instead of following a set, predictable schedule, cluster feeding is more of a pattern. Feed, doze, and then feed again, sometimes with very little break in between. It can feel endless and quite demanding, especially when you're already tired. But rest assured, it's a perfectly normal behavior, especially common in those first few months as your baby grows and develops. Think of it as your baby tanking up or preparing for a longer stretch of sleep, getting in lots of little snacks to keep them satisfied. This feeding behavior is very common and is generally not a sign that there's a problem with your milk supply or your baby's latch. Most babies tend to cluster feed during what some call the witching hour, typically in the late afternoon or early evening, when everyone in the house is often tired and perhaps a little fussy. If your baby seems content and comfortable at the breast during these feeds and is producing plenty of wet nappies throughout the day, then it's a good indication that they are indeed getting enough milk. However, if you notice excessive fussiness or signs of distress during these feeding sessions, it may signal that something else is going on. And it's always a good idea to check with your healthcare provider or a lactation consultant if you have any concerns, but for the vast majority of new parents, cluster feeding is simply a normal and temporary part of the newborn experience. A big myth is that cluster feeding means you have low milk supply. In reality, it's how your body builds supply more nursing signals, more milk. Another myth, you're spoiling your baby by feeding on demand. Babies aren't manipulative, they feed often out of instinct and need. Short, frequent feeds don't mean your baby isn't thriving. As long as they're gaining weight and have enough wet nappies, they're getting what they need. These myths cause stress and can undermine breastfeeding. Trust your body and your instincts cluster. Feeding is a sign of a healthy breastfeeding relationship. Your baby is communicating their needs and you're responding perfectly. It's not failure, it's nature working as it should. So what's really happening? Cluster feeding is linked to growth spurts, times when babies need more milk. Frequent nursing boosts your supply to meet their needs. Hormones like prolactin dip in the evening, so babies feed more to get enough. Evening milk also has more sleep-promoting ingredients, helping everyone rest. Beyond nutrition, cluster feeding is about comfort and security. Babies crave closeness after a day of new experiences. Experts agree, frequent nursing is the biological norm for human infants. Our milk is designed for regular, small feeds. Cluster feeding supports growth, emotional regulation, and a strong milk supply. It's a sign everything is working as it should. Understanding the science behind cluster feeding can be helpful, but let's be honest, it's still incredibly exhausting, especially in those early days. It's natural to feel overwhelmed. The most important thing to remember is to accept cluster feeding as a temporary phase. It won't last forever, even though it might feel like it in the moment. Prepare a cozy and comfortable spot where you can settle in for these longer feeding sessions. Gather some healthy snacks, a water bottle to stay hydrated, and anything else that will make you feel more comfortable, and then settle in. Don't hesitate to ask for help with household chores and other responsibilities. And most importantly, allow others to support you emotionally and practically during this time. Remember, your main job right now is to rest as much as possible and feed your baby. Everything else, from laundry to emails, can absolutely wait. Prioritize your well-being and your baby's needs. Cluster feeding is typically most intense in the early weeks of your baby's life, and gradually fades as your baby grows and their feeding patterns become more established. One day you'll suddenly realize that those marathon cluster feeding sessions are a thing of the past. Trust your body's natural ability to nourish your baby and trust your baby's instincts to feed when they need to. This is a valuable investment in your baby's long-term health and in strengthening the beautiful bond between you. Above all, be kind and gentle to yourself during this demanding period. And don't hesitate to lean on your support system, your partner, family, friends, or a lactation consultant. Remember, this intense cluster feeding phase will eventually pass, and you'll emerge from it feeling even more confident in your abilities as a mother. You're giving your baby the absolute best possible start in life through your dedication and love. So just hang in there. You're doing an amazing job.